Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is RProg or uh, Gary Rice, either or. I'd like to be called RProg here. Thank you very much. And welcome to another C++ tutorial. And in this one, we're going to be talking about file input and output, which is why we have this little beauty open, is because we're going to be manipulating text files in this one. So what are we going to use to do that? These beauties, and a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of that. Anyway, let's get started. We'll start out by using the of stream object. Essentially, this is used to output data into a file of your choosing. We'll just use OS, and we're going to stick to the object methods here, and you'll learn about that very soon. We'll use the open method. I could have used the constructor, but that's something you'll learn pretty soon as well. So with this, first thing is you want the file name, as it shows. So we can just say, I don't know, output dot, or let's just use temp.txt. Yeah, that'll work. And then here you can use basically modes or different flags of how you want it to treat this output file or this whatever file you're creating. And in this instance, this is where the iOS object comes in. You say iOS, for example, truncate. And in that instance, we're going to simply, if it exists locally, and keep in mind that's locally typically to wherever the executable is, not the main.cpp file. So keep that in mind. So I always truncate, and we'll also play with binary. That way we have something used in the next object as well. And since we use the open method, or however way you want to do it, you should still, it's a great idea to make sure that you correctly open the file, or the file has been successfully opened. You can use several different ways. You can use the fail method, you can use the isOpen method, or you can do it the what looks like the pointer way, but what you're using is the object is, well, it looks like this. You can use the object itself, if OS, or if you want to check and see if it's invalid, just put a not symbol in front of it. So here we go. We're just going to say if OS, and what are we going to do with this guy? So let's just throw in some numbers. For example, we'll just say like int data is signed some weird arbitrary number, something like that. And then we'll say, well, actually, we don't even have to use a variable in this case. We'll use a variable in the next object. We'll just say OS. And keep in mind, you're dealing with text, but let's see what happens here. And then once we wrote to it, I'm going to dang, I'll throw an inline there. We'll say os.close. Now, the reason why we do that is you want to close whatever stream that you're done with. If not, you will encounter undefined behavior. So since we're done with that, let's go to the if stream object. I'm going to create some, I didn't really have any input, did I? So I don't have to do that. Let's go ahead and just declare it. If stream is.open. We'll use that. Actually, hang on a minute. It's going to look a little bit different. I got an idea. Here we are. We'll just save it as a bin file. There we go. Now then, we'll say if is, we'll say let's see here. This is where it's going to get tricky. Since we saved it as an integer, technically when we read it back, it's still going to be a string. So we need to use the string object. We'll just call it buffer. We'll say, we'll use a while loop. And we'll use the getLine global function that's within the string library. I'm going to say, well, getLine is buffer. And we can output the buffer. Simple enough. And once we're done, we simply close the string. So what we're going to look for over here is this temp.bin once we execute. Alright, so everything seems to went swimmingly. So here's our temp.bin. Of course, I have Notepad++. You can simply just throw it up there and boom. Or you can try to open it in Notepad. I'm sure I really fine. I know you're in here somewhere. Been there since like 1995 or something like that. Anyway, yeah. So essentially, you can still read it as a text file, but you can create different file types by utilizing these and utilize these flags. So keep that in mind. You know, read up on them, practice with them, study them. And there's one more object that I'm not going to cover here. I will let you cover on your own. And that is the fstream object. Looks like that. Now, this object, just to throw a few hints out there, can be used for both input and output. Instead of using two objects, you can use just one. But there's this particular way you have to do it. And once again, pay attention to these flags on how you use the open method here, or how I've used them in the open method. Particularly this one and that one. So guys, that is it. That wraps up file input and output in a nutshell, so to speak. For the rest of it, I hope you guys are out there practicing with all these and doing things on your own, figuring things out for yourself, and enlightening your minds. And if you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm only human, so if I've made any mistakes here, please leave it in the comments below. You can say anything you want. I don't really care. And guys, I'd like to thank you for watching. Love you all. Happy coding.